Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Boxiest, and today we're going to continue the What If series. What if events had gone differently? And in this What If, we're going to change the history of Cobra Kai. What if Hawk saved Kenny from Anthony during the events of Cobra Kai Season 4? So in this timeline, the events of Cobra Kai Season 4 would still happen, Daniel and Johnny would still team up, and those events would stay the same. Kenny would still be the new kid at his school, and he would still be picked on by Anthony and his friends, and much like in the original timeline, Anthony and his friends would still convince Kenny to come to the park dressed up. Those events would stay the same. Anthony and his friends would still make fun of him, and they would still record him. Kenny would try to get them to stop, and he would still break Anthony's phone. Anthony and his friends would still get mad, and they would still attack him. But in this timeline, Hawk would be walking in the park, and he would see Anthony and his friends beating up Kenny. Hawk would get mad, and he would approach them. Zach would see Hawk, and he would want to attack him, but Hawk would defend himself, and he would fight back. Anthony and Hawk wouldn't know each other, so Anthony would fight Hawk, but Hawk would easily take Anthony and his friends down, and Hawk would go see if Kenny was okay. Kenny would thank Hawk for saving him. Kenny would ask Hawk where he learned to fight. Hawk would say that he learned from his sensei, and he would invite Kenny to join Miyagi-Fang. Those events would carry on. Anthony would go home, and Danny would see his black eye. Danny would be concerned, and he would ask Anthony what happened. So Anthony would tell him that they were attacked by a guy with red spiky hair, and Danny would know that it was Hawk. Danny would get mad. He knew Hawk couldn't be trusted, so the next day Danny would confront Hawk. He would tell Hawk he wasn't welcomed in his dojo. Hawk would be surprised, and he would want to defend himself. Johnny would stand up for Hawk, but Danny would say that Hawk was a bully, and that he beat up his son and his friends. So Johnny would start to turn on Hawk, but Hawk would say he didn't know that he was Daniel's son, and that he was saving a kid from being beat up. This is when Kenny would show up, and he would confirm everything that Hawk was saying. Danny would still be mad, but it would be an Anthony now, and he would apologize to Hawk. Kenny would join Miyagi-Fang in this timeline, and the events of Season 4 would continue. Danny would go home, and he would punish Anthony, and he would make Anthony apologize to Kenny. And the next day of school, Anthony would apologize to Kenny. Kenny would accept Anthony's apology, but Anthony and Kenny wouldn't be friends, and they would go their separate ways, and the events of Season 4 would carry on. Kenny would continue his training at Miyagi-Fang, and he would start to learn a combination of offense and defense. Carice would still get Terry Silver in this timeline, and the Cobra Kai students would never get their revenge on Hawk. Terry Silver would still confront Daniel and Johnny, so Daniel and Johnny would still fight, and they would still go their separate ways. But in this timeline, Hawk and Kenny would stay in Eagle Fang, and Hawk and Kenny would start to form a connection, similar to the connection Robbie and Kenny had in the original timeline. The events of Season 4 would stay the same, and the night of the All Valley, the dojos would still compete, and in the boys semifinals, Robbie would fight Hawk. Robbie would use a combination of offense and defense, while Hawk only used offense. And in this timeline, Robbie would defeat Hawk, so he would advance to the finals. Miguel would fight Dimitri in the semifinals. Dimitri would be fighting with defense, while Miguel fought with offense, but Miguel would still defeat Dimitri in this timeline, and he would advance to the finals. Robbie and Miguel would fight, and Robbie would use a combination of offense and defense. Miguel would still be distracted, and he would still be injured. But in this timeline, Miguel would choose to fight, and the fight would continue. Robbie would start fighting dirty, and he would target Miguel's weak points. And since the referee was on Robbie's side, Robbie would defeat Miguel, so Robbie would be the boys All Valley champion. Sam and Tori would still fight, and the fight would stay the same. Johnny and Daniel would still team up, but since the referee was on Tori's side, Tori would still defeat Sam, so Cobra Kai would win overall. The season would end in a very similar way. Eagle Fang and Miyagi-Do would be forced to shut down. Robbie wouldn't go to Johnny in this timeline, and he would decide to stay in Cobra Kai. Miguel wouldn't run away in this timeline, and Terry Silver would still betray Carice. Daniel would still get chosen, and that is where I'm going to end this What If. Thank you guys for watching. What do you guys think would have happened if Hawk saved Kenny from Anthony during the events of Cobra Kai Season 4? Let me know in the comments below. YouTube lets me know that the majority of you are not subscribed, so if you guys could subscribe, that would be much appreciated. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. And I'll see you guys next time.